Do you have trouble falling asleep at night because you're just laying in bed, tossing and turning, and can't stop thinking about maybe your loved ones and wanting to help them or how you could better serve them? Your mind is reeling about all the things that you have to do, and your brain just keeps coming up with continual checklists for the next day and days following. Or you just can't seem to turn your mind off and find that peaceful state that you need in order to rest. Well, these are not isolated feelings, and in fact, they are felt by numerous individuals all over the world. However, this does not mean that you have to accept poor sleep as your reality. Anxiety, depression, stress, and loneliness are all common feelings and diagnoses that impact sleep quality by increasing the amount of time the brain is in hyperarousal before bed. In today's video, we will discuss the effect of our emotional state on our sleep, what alcohol and substance use has to do with our sleep, different cognitive behavioral interventions, what they mean and how we can implement them, and then stress management and relaxation strategies we can do daily. As with many other things related to sleep, these feelings and states have a bidirectional relationship with sleep, which means that they can cause poor sleep, and that poor sleep can cause these feelings to be elevated during the day and even bleed into our next night of rest. Our REM sleep is responsible for processing emotional information. So, whenever we're feeling these things, it can be hard for us to reach that state of REM sleep, which means that we're missing the opportunity to recall the memories and different things that happened from the day and positively consolidate them and reevaluate them. And that carries into a more negative psychological state the following days. Therefore, it is extremely important to identify these issues and come up with strategies to implement in order to prevent the symptoms associated with depression and anxiety. Additionally, dependencies on substances such as alcohol and drugs can have perilous effects for sleep. Alcohol, benzodiazepines, and barbiturates are associated with decreased REM sleep. Benzodiazepines are a significant class of drug that are often used to treat insomnia. However, the problem occurs because they increase the arousal threshold for our N3 or deepest stage of sleep and for our REM sleep. These two stages are known to have the highest arousal in general, and taking these substances can just increase that threshold as well. So what can be done to help these problems? Well, current research advocates for the use of cognitive behavioral therapy to reshape mental processes and create a more positive association with sleep. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a form of psychotherapy. The core premise is that maladaptive or harmful processes of thinking fuel negative thought processes that trigger emotional distress, which then cause us to act in ways that are not beneficial to ourselves. So essentially, here, the idea is that bad thoughts trigger bad feelings, which trigger bad actions. Therefore, if we can stop it at the very beginning, we can make better outcomes for ourselves. CBT is focused on reducing stress and anxiety by modifying physical sensations, catastrophic thinking, and maladaptive behaviors. You can think of it like this. Let's say that we are in a forest and we need to make a trail to get to a different area. So we build a trail, but the only problem is that this trail is extremely dangerous. There's lots of sharp turns and lots of rocks or other things in our way. And every time that we take this trail, we just seem to keep hurting ourselves. But it's the only trail that we know, so we just keep on taking it until the point where we cannot take it anymore. So we go ahead and make a new trail. It's actually extremely beneficial, but it has water along the way, and there's nothing really blocking our path. But the only problem is it's just not as familiar to us as this old trail that we're used to taking. So we just keep having to retrain ourselves to take this trail, and over time it becomes more familiar, and we're doing better overall. You can think of CBT as this new trail. It is unknown, and it takes a conscious efforts to redirect ourselves to this trail instead of our old one, but it helps build more positive habits and we're not hurting ourselves as much. For someone who struggles with anxiety, stress, or depression and has difficulty every night falling asleep, it can build a very negative relationship with sleep. You feel frustrated, and you can't stop thinking things like, well, I'll see if I'll even get any sleep tonight, or I wonder how many times I'll wake up tonight. And this just kind of gives an overall what's the point aura. And this is a major problem because then we're creating negative, stressful thoughts associated with our sleep, triggering anxiety or frustration, and this mobilizes our stress response instead of helping us reach that peaceful state that we need. You can overcome this by learning to recognize these thoughts and change the negative narrative through a process that we call cognitive restructuring, which is by recognizing and replacing your negative thoughts with more accurate positive thoughts. You will reduce your worry and negative emotions that trigger that stress response. So let's go over some of the negative thought processes that we may be using consciously or unconsciously, and ways that we can restructure them to create a more positive and accurate narrative for ourselves. The first negative thought process that we can sometimes fall into is catastrophizing. This is believing something is the worst that it could possibly be. So, an unhelpful thought here would be, if I don't fall asleep soon, I'll be exhausted all day and won't be able to function at all. Instead, we can reshape that into, no, my body does know how to rest and I will get the sleep that I need over time. The second negative thought process is should statements. This is thinking in terms of how things should, must, or ought to be. An unhelpful thought here would be, my doctor should be able to cure my sleep problems. A helpful thought would be, I have control over the skills I can use to improve my sleep. Third, we have all or nothing thinking. This happens whenever we see things as either or right or wrong instead of in terms of degrees. An unhelpful thought process that we can adapt here is, I can only be happy with full 8 hours of interrupted sleep. Instead, we should be thinking, although 8 full hours of uninterrupted sleep is my goal, it does not mean I have to be miserable until I achieve it. I can celebrate the days I do feel well rested and learn how to cope on the days that I do not. The next is jumping to conclusions, which I'm sure we can all be guilty of here. This is making negative conclusions of events that are not based on fact. An unhelpful thought process we may have here is, I woke up in the middle of the night, and this means I won't get back to sleep and I'm going to suffer from it all day tomorrow. A helpful thought would be, waking up in the middle of the night is normal, I can relax, and I'll fall back asleep. Sixth is emotional reasoning, and this is believing how you feel reflects how things really are. An unhelpful thought process we could be guilty of here is, I feel exhausted, so I must not have slept at all last night. A helpful thought would be, I feel tired, but that doesn't mean that I didn't get any rest at all. Lastly, we have disqualifying the positive. This is whenever we focus only on the bad and discount the good. Sometimes here we may say, I have to do all of this extra work just to sleep right. Whenever we could be thinking that by sleeping on my side with a pillow in between my legs, I did not wake up from my back pain last night, and shaping it to a more positive perspective. So now that we've discussed different ways that we can reshape our thinking to go from a negative outlook to a more positive perception of ourselves and our sleep processes, we can go ahead and talk about some ways that we can use relaxation strategies to help us calm down and hopefully get to bed a little bit easier. So whenever we're going through these, there's two basic foundational components that make up each of these relaxation strategies. The first is that we're going to be focusing on a process, a sensation, or an image to help us to calm down. And then the second is that we're going to try to tune out our everyday thoughts to go ahead and really just focus on the process. So go ahead and get prepared. You'll want to sit in a comfortable chair, or you can even do this in bed if you like to go ahead and increase drowsiness. You want to lower your lights. Go ahead and make sure that you're in comfortable clothes like pajamas or something loose. And then you're going to go ahead and close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, that is completely fine. Just find one area of the room that you want to go ahead and focus on instead of your eyes darting multiple places. This will help you just to go ahead and calm down and really be able to focus. You want to also make sure that your phone is off, the TV is off, there's no radio or loud surrounding noise. And then you're going to put pets in another room or if there's a lot of people in your environment, just go ahead and try to find some space or let them know in some way that you want to try to be uninterrupted. So the first relaxation strategy that we're going to go ahead and try is deep or diaphragmatic breathing. This is a foundation for all the other relaxation techniques because it uses breathing to contract the diaphragm by expanding our chest cavity and then making room for more air. So we want to go ahead and start by establishing good posture. It's going to be hard to really get a deep breath if you're hunched over like this because you have no room to expand. So go ahead and sit up straight. And then we want to make sure that we understand the difference between chest breathing and belly breathing. Chest is very shallow. It's like really just through our upper body, not anything too crazy. And then breathing through our belly is going to be a lot deeper of a feeling. So really almost like your stomach, like there's a balloon in your stomach and you're really filling it up with air and then you slowly let it out. But in order to help us to kind of get a better idea of what is what, I want you to place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. If you want, you can pause the video here and you're just going to kind of practice what is breathing with your chest versus breathing with your whole belly. And you can feel your whole body contract, expand, and relax whenever you're doing belly breathing. So go ahead and practice that a few times. Really make sure that you're getting, that you're filling your entire body up with air. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. Okay, so now that you've practiced with maybe 3 breaths or so, you want to close your eyes completely or look down at one spot. I'm going to be looking at my spot on the floor. And then I'm going to keep my hands on my chest and my abdomen, and I'm slowly going to inhale through my nose, causing my abdomen or my tummy to expand. And then I'm going to, whenever I exhale, I'm going to count at least 3 to 5 seconds. So okay, so you'll continue that for 3 to 5 minutes. And this really just helps to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for your resting functions in your body and your digesting functions in your body. So that is one way to go ahead and calm yourself down. The second is going to be progressive muscle relaxation. I really like this one because it helps you to understand what it feels like whenever all your muscles are tense and what it feels like whenever they're all relaxed. And this will help you throughout the day to kind of understand when you're tense and when that may be causing you pain, and then when you're relaxed and really get a better connection and understanding with your body. Our muscles cannot be contracted and relaxed at the same time. So this exercise really does focus on contracting everything at once and then relaxing everything at once. And as I mentioned, it kind of helps you to keep a better eye on yourself and understand what different parts of your body feel like whenever they're contracted. So throughout the day, if you're stressed, you can be like, oh, like I'm noticing this because I feel around my head and around my temples are like tight, or I feel my shoulders are really, really tight right now. And so that's my cue to myself. Okay, let me go ahead and relax. So we're going to divide it up into different muscle groups. Whenever we're squeezing, where it's a slight contraction, yes, I'm kind of almost like flexing my muscles, but I'm not going to give myself a Charlie horse. I'm not going to really overdo it. It's not, there's no metal. So just to the point of where you feel tension, but nothing too crazy where you hurt yourself. So the muscle groups that I'm actually dividing it up into is going to be my eyes, my forehead, and my scalp. The next is going to be my mouth, my jaw, and my throat. Next is going to be neck, shoulders, upper back, then chest, then abdomen, then upper legs, lower back area, and then your lower legs. So we're going to walk through each one step by step. So if that was a lot to remember, the different categories, do not worry, we're going to go through it together. So whenever I'm contracting, I want to keep it within a 5 to 10-second range. Um, if you feel like, oh man, this area is kind of tight, like maybe I do want it, or like maybe it feels better to go ahead and keep it contracted for a little longer, that is fine. Just not past that 10-second mark, preferably. And then you're going to rest between 10 to 20 seconds. For the sake of the video, I'm going to just cue you when you would normally rest. We're not going to take the actual however long it is for the rest break. But if you're doing this and following along, go ahead and feel free to pause the video at whatever moment and give yourself that full rest, because that's what's going to make the exercise more effective. So let's start with our eyes, jaw, and or our eyes, forehead, and scalp. This is kind of weird to think about, tensing those muscles, but really it can be squinting, lifting the eyebrows. Those are kind of all how you're going to feel the tension in that area. So we'll start now. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Here's where you would take your 10 to 20-second break. Now we're going to do the mouth, jaw, and throat. Obviously, if I'm doing this, I can't really count, so we'll just do it for 5 seconds. And then think about clenching your jaw, almost like you're taking a big gulp and you're staying stuck there. Those are all the things that you're going to think about whenever you're tightening that area. So relax. And as you're doing this, you want to either close your eyes or look at one area in the room and just focus on it. So that's, for me, I'm just going to be looking down. And then now we're going to focus on the neck, shoulders, and back. So this is maybe squeezing your shoulder blades together. Maybe it's jutting your neck out a little bit more or jutting it in, whatever feels best for you. I'm going to keep my shoulders, I could keep them up, intense back, or I can keep them low, intense back. I find it better to keep it low, intense back. So, and then spread my neck out a little bit. So we're going to hold it there for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's where you would take your 10 to 20-second break. Now we're going to think about really clenching and squeezing the chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax, where you would take your 10 to 20-second break. Now we're going to take your 10 to 20-second break. Now we're going to squeeze our abdomen. The thought here is that almost like you're bracing for somebody to give you a big punch. How you can tell that you're contracting your abdomen is that you won't be able to take a deep breath because that area is clenched. There's not enough space for you to really fill up with an air bubble. So if you can really, really breathe, then you're not clenching your abdomen tight enough. So go ahead and clench. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and focus on our upper arms and our lower arms. So here, almost like I'm driving and someone just cut me off and I'm really, really tense now. That's the feeling that you're going to want to feel in your upper and lower arms. So squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. And then I'll go ahead and move to my lower back area through my upper thighs. So for me, it's easier to go ahead and spread my legs out, and I'm going to think about tightening my thigh. So another way that might be helpful is that you go ahead and flex your feet up and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You can either squeeze your legs together or you can just squeeze the quad area until you feel a lot of tension. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my lower legs, but instead of flexing my feet back, I'm going to go ahead and point them because that kind of helps me to activate the muscles in my lower legs a little bit better, kind of like you would do if you were to get on your tiptoes and you feel it up through your calves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So now this one is a really good one. It's probably my favorite. because I feel like you really, really are able to transfer that into your everyday life and kind of being able to read yourself and your body about when you're tense and how you can relax and getting used to those feelings. The third and final thing that we're going to do is called guided imagery. And the one rule here is that you can pick a place, any place that you want to go to, whether that's the beach, outside, um, if it's your a church or anything like that, you can go ahead and think of that place, and it just has to be peaceful. So you want to close your eyes, or you want to focus on one specific spot in your room, whether that's the floor, whether that's your hands, and you want to make sure that your body is not tense at all. Good posture, just relaxed, and there you go. So my place that I'm going to pick is a field, and I will kind of use mine as an example for you. And you can kind of follow the keynotes on the screen to guide you through your experience. Whenever this is done and you feel like you have a good idea of what to do, you can pause it and try it on your own. So, um, and whenever I'm thinking of my place, I'm going to be using my five senses. What do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel? What do I smell? And how does it taste? Okay, so you want to imagine the entryway to your location. For me, that would be driving up and getting out of my car, and here I am parked in this really beautiful field. I'm looking around and I see the different colors of the grass and plants. I see how blue the sky is. I see how bright it is outside because the sun is shining down. I feel the wind hitting my face. I feel the warmth from the sun. I'm hearing the different birds chirping around me, what it feels like on the grass every time that I take a step. And I'm hearing the different animals rustle through the bushes. Also, I'm smelling, as the wind hits me, I'm smelling the smell of grass. I'm smelling the different water nearby. Let's say I'm having a picnic there. I'm imagining those tastes. You want to spend about 5 to 10 minutes in your relaxing scene. And then whenever you're leaving, if I'm walking through, I'm going to go ahead and take a step back. I'm going to walk back the same way that I came in. And I'm going to leave, maybe reaching for my keys in my pocket, get back in my car where I parked it, and go ahead and drive off. So these are different strategies that you can use to relax and kind of get yourself in a more peaceful state. They do take practice, so be patient with yourself. And if you feel like you want to do these throughout the day as well, if you're feeling stressed, you can do that. If any of these strategies, such as reframing your thinking, or finding different ways to relax, were helpful, go ahead and try to incorporate them and hold yourself accountable through the week. Go ahead and write down which ones that you're going to do, when you're going to do them, and so that way you can monitor your progress as the weeks progress as well. Thank you.